In my hand, I have two keyboards that cost them millions to make. Now, if you saw my last video on the 100 Thieves keyboard, you'll know I said some very mean things.
It's hot swappable. It's got an orange silicone dampening foam.
It's orange. You did it.
When we go on Instagram or we're scrolling through forums and we're like, oh wow, like, this keyboard is beautiful. The sound that they were able to create, we see that, but we weren't able to do that before.
I could have paused it there and said, we see that, but we weren't able to do that. That would have been too mean. I'm not gonna do that to you guys. The build overall just ended up sounding clacky and really not that unique. If you look at that F-row, what were they thinking? For some reason, they decided, let's send this guy a keyboard again. They sent me an email and said, we're gonna send you this keyboard, the Attack on Titan 100 Thieves keyboard. We hope that it's better based on the improvements that we made, such as a silicone weight, brand new switches, which are enthusiast grade, and some other things that we'll check out later. So they spent millions on this keyboard, but does it matter? Well, let's find out. I accidentally left the silicone out of the keyboard, just putting it together, filming B-roll. And I was like, you know what, let me just test it. Let me see what it sounds like. And I think it potentially sounds better.
Does it sound better?
I forgot to hit record on OBS. Did I not record any of that? I didn't. So some of this is from my stream. Ignore that. This is the Attack on Titan keyboard from High Ground. So first things first, we've got this, a jelly bag. Can I eat it? It's also got a jelly strap. He looks like he kind of smelled a fart. And now Hipyo does a fashion show. Would you guys like my $40 jelly bag, gamers? Let's go. What's in there? Nothing, because I can't afford it because I spent $40 on a jelly bag. So this, TTC Titan Heart. They've made new switches for this keyboard. New switches. This doesn't feel heavy enough for a keyboard. Okay, so this is what you'd get if you buy the keyboard normally. This appears to be a box for a mouse pad that I don't have yet, but I'm assuming it's in here. Cute guy on the box. There's a cute guy right here. Here's the package with the keyboard and everything. Slightly clear polycarbonate. This is the High Ground Attack on Titan keyboard. This bad boy retails for $140. May 6th is when you're going to be able to purchase it. The keycaps can be bought separately for $55. The mouse pad can be bought separately for $50, and we'll talk about that. And the jelly bag can be bought for $40. It looks like dye sub printed keycaps. They're 1.5 millimeters thick instead of, I think the others were 1.3 millimeters thick. Now, you might be wondering, how did High Ground make these keycaps? One thing they might have done is used Blender. Blender is how I've made my keycap set, like Polycap's Hipyo, and it also happens to tie in with the sponsor of today's video. Hold on, if you stay till the end, you'll get an extra howdy hey. The sponsor of today's video is Skillshare, and Skillshare is an online learning platform where you can learn about plants, you can learn about Photoshop, but in this case, you can also learn about Blender. With the class Blender 3D by Southern Shoddy 3D, I learned the basics of how to navigate Blender's interface, which allowed me to use Keyboard Render Kit, which is a Blender plugin, to make renders of some of my keycap sets. It's amazingly helpful, and if you want to try out making your own keycap sets, then maybe you should give Skillshare a shot and use code HIPYOTECH, because the first 1,000 of you to use code HIPYOTECH at the link down below will get a free month. So you better act fast before 999 people snag it. Thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. And here's your howdy hey. Howdy hey. I would say the dye sub quality is actually pretty decent. It looks like they've tried pretty hard here. So the lettering is side printed, and on some keys it's very hard to see. Honestly, I question why it's there in the first place. I think overall impressions is the design is interesting. It's not exactly my style. If you like Attack on Titan and are a weeb, please leave a comment right now and let me know what you think of this thing. I'm gonna have to be a little bit mean here and say I am fully biased. My desk mat, 25 bucks on kineticlabs.com. Incredibly high quality, great material. This feels comparatively cheap. It's the same size, the print quality looks okay, and they want $50 for it. I know they had to pay for licensing. These are officially licensed. The pricing is probably out of their hands. You're not getting value here. The keyboard also comes with a USB-C cable, keycap puller, and a switch puller. Boop, boop, boop. Here's a quick sound test of the stabilizers and such. Now hold your thoughts. Let me get the other one for a side-by-side. Now this has been tape modded and such, so it is not fully representative of the board. Keep in mind, this keyboard has been tape modded and foam modded, and I think it sounds objectively worse. It sounds like they've potentially improved on what they said they might have. Let's investigate it a little bit further. So this is solid plastic. This looks to be also solid plastic, potentially polycarbonate or ABS, and it's significantly heavier. They've improved the keycap thickness, 1.3 millimeters to 1.5 millimeters. They've added extra weighted silicone to the bottom of the keyboard to improve dampening and typing, is what they say. They've upgraded to a longer braided cable, and sadly, just a normal USB-C cable. I mean, seeing Keychron do custom coiled cables and cool braided cables in their boards, this was a little bit lame. They have their own exclusive TTC colorway. So it's not an exclusive switch, it's just an exclusive recolor. And they said they've improved internal structures to the frame to strengthen overall stability. Here's things they probably didn't change. LED direction. They probably did not change mounting style. So if you're looking for south-facing LEDs, probably not here. If you're looking for a gasket mounted keyboard, probably not here. If you're looking for officially licensed Attack on Titan stuff, I guess this is the only place you can really look. It looks like they've gone with an entirely different keycap manufacturer potentially for these. On the left, you have their previous keycap design, but it's got a boxier stem. It's also a bit thinner, and the die sub quality seems worse. Their new keycap quality is definitely a more robust stem and slightly thicker PBT. The improved die sub printing, that is better. Overall, the keycaps are much higher quality than their previous keycaps. There's one check. Yay! These keycaps are very nice, but how are the switches? Let's check those out. In the 100 Thieves previous line of keyboards, we had lame stock switches. I think these were Gateron, but in this case, they have gone with TTC. TTC is quite a big boy when it comes to making switches. I think this was a really clever idea of recoloring the TTC Heart line of switches, as TTC makes very good stock switches that generally don't need that much factory lube, and they've gone with the Heart line of switches and made it a smoky dark color. I think these look really good. So this keyboard is hot swap, so we can pull out the switches, but unfortunately they've kept north-facing LEDs. So if you wanted to swap out these keycaps for something more custom later, let's say you get bored of Attack on Titan or they kill off your favorite character, if you use Cherry Profile, you're going to get interference. What that means is your middle row will sound not very good. But hold on. Do these TTC switches have Cherry interference? I'm not entirely sure. Are they long pole switches? I'm not entirely sure. Hey guys, I got the D. Let me test the south facing, and then let me test the north facing. Do these switches not have interference? I don't think I'm hearing any interference here with south facing and Cherry switches. My final verdict on these switches though is like, they're very nice stock. So these switches have a gold-plated spring, 42 gram force with a 1.2 millimeter actuation point and a 3.6 millimeter total travel. To me, they feel quite good because they're very light springs. I generally like light springs when gaming. They sound pingy. I don't know how you define pingy, but I do not hear ping. I think they did good here. I will give them another point. Is it healthy to eat switches? So these are 2-pin switches. So if you wanted to pull them out and use them on a board that only supports 5-pin, wait, boards don't only support 5-pin. 2-pin, 3-pin, whatever you want to call it. There's 2 pins here. There's not 2 pins here. There's a center pin. Some people call that 3-pin. Some people call that 2-pin. And this is maybe something worth mentioning for why they went with north-facing LEDs. The heart is shown in the north-facing orientation. The stabilizers are a little bit eh. I assume they've been slightly factory lubed, and let's check that out. Mine look pretty dry. Now, this could be a consequence of it being one of the reviewer boards, or it could be that they're just not factory lubing the stabilizers. We're going to mod this keyboard now. I promise it's going to be interesting, and here's why. This keyboard already sounds pretty decent. And with a few simple tricks, I think we're gonna make it sound even better. To get this keyboard open, it's pretty simple. We're just gonna need to pop off some keycaps in some strategic areas, which we're just gonna do with our little keycap puller. Link in the description if you'd like it. Now, with my handy dandy WoW stick, link in the bottom left. Let's slam method worked perfectly, you guys. So the PCB, you can clearly see orange.
Did I mention it was orange?
You can see clearly there is some silicone between the plate and PCB. The plate is metal. I can't tell if it's aluminum or stainless steel. And in this case, get it because it's the case. In this case, they filled the whole keyboard with the silicone weight. This adds a lot of heft compared to the original high ground board. If you pop out the silicone, you can see it's been precisely sculpted to fit the board, which is good. There's also another bit, even more precisely sculpted to fit the board. This is dummy thick, actually. And it's even branded with high ground, which I think is a good touch. These guys worry me. I'm gonna put electrical tape on this PCB. Why do we put tape on PCBs? Well, there's a whole lot of reasons about it, and I've got a video that will appear in the top left. Tape mod, tape mod, tape mod, tape mod. So we've added one layer of tape. Now we've got the keyboard tape modded. There's not a lot of dead space in there for me to put anything else, so we can't put anything else in there. But we can lube these stabilizers a bit. I'm using Permatex dielectric grease in this hobby syringe for any of you that are wondering. I'll have those linked down below in the video as well. So now we've got the keyboard stabilizers kind of lubed up. Honestly, these stabilizers are pretty hard to save, so if you get this board, I recommend Duroc plate mount stabilizers. Just swap them out, lube them up yourself. Now, ultimately at the core of this keyboard, it's still fundamentally a $20 to $30 chassis that they stuck exclusive keycaps on and a nice recolored enthusiast switch. Is this worth it? Ultimately, that's up to you. This keycap design is officially licensed, which means that they paid money for it. Take notes, keycap creators. You're paying for the looks and the 100 Thieves high ground branding. They're good at that marketing branding stuff, as you saw in the last video.
So a lot of what we're doing is marketing.
Anyways, if you like this video, check out the last 100 Thieves video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, please, and watch the whole sound test. Otherwise, my YouTube algorithm overlords will not let me eat. Bye! Now, does this board sound good now? Let's put it to the test against the original high ground keyboard. I accidentally left the silicone out of the keyboard, just putting it together, filming B-roll. And I was like, you know what, let me just test it. Let me see what it sounds like. And I think it potentially sounds better.